This is Turn Knowledge to Profit, where entrepreneurs like you find the insights, experience, and tools they need to earn more, make a bigger impact in the world, and create the freedom to live a life others only dream of. Now, here are your hosts for Turn Knowledge to Profit, entrepreneurs, speakers, and authors, Johnell and McCaueley.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us on Turn Knowledge to Profit. I'm Johnell McCaueley, and along with my co-host Michael, each week we bring you the insights, ideas, and tools that you need to earn more, make a bigger impact, and create the freedom to live a life others only dream of.
You're going to want to take notes, so grab a pen and paper, and let's get started.
First, it's our success interview. And today we're talking with author and eWomen Network member David Medansky. David has a really interesting journey. He's recognized in the casino world as an authority on the game of craps, and he teaches others winning strategies through his book on that topic. But more recently, David realized that he needed to take his health seriously. Over the past year, he lost 50 pounds and is now healthier and happier than ever. And he's getting ready to publish his second book in the fall. This one focused on his weight loss journey. I know you're going to find this really an interesting conversation and how he's moved his business. I'm really excited about our conversation. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
So I'd love to start our conversation. I'd love for our listeners to hear from you just a little bit about how long you've been in business and how your business has evolved, because you've really changed what you're doing and a lot of your focus. If you could just share just a little bit about that with us, please.
I'd be glad to. I started as a divorce attorney, and I haven't practiced since 2005. From there, I went to become a world-class expert on playing craps. And then last July, my doctor told me I needed to lose weight or find a new doctor because I had a 95% risk for a heart attack. Wow. So that began my weight loss journey to lose 50 pounds in 4 months. And I made it my mission to help others and assist others to overcome the challenges of their weight loss issues. I just feel it's my obligation and duty to do that at this point. So I'm doing that by writing a book called Discover Your Thinner Self, which will be released in January of 2018.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I know that I'm sure a lot of people have asked you, how did you do it? Why did you do it? It's interesting because a lot of things in our life often come from those moments where, we haven't been taking care of ourselves. We haven't been doing that self-care, and all of a sudden it's really kind of out of control, and it sounds like that's the spot you were at.
It was, and I had been on the roller coaster of losing weight, gaining weight. They call it the yo-yo diets. Mm-hmm. I had been saying, yeah, I'll take care of it tomorrow. I was a stubborn, hard-headed, typical male that I didn't need help. I'll just go to the gym and exercise more, or I'll stop, eating. I just never took it seriously. But when my doctor told me where I was at, that began to take it seriously. So I actually went on his program, which is the HCG program. It's an injection of a female hormone from pregnant women, and you're on 550 calories a day for 6 weeks. And people look at me like, how do you do that? But again, it was medically supervised.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it was on maintenance for 1,250 calories a day. But my biggest thing was dealing with the mental, emotional, and psychological aspects of the weight loss. Most people don't realize, but the number one reason people gain weight and are overweight is because of stress.
Well, and stress really has an impact on everything we do. And it's good that you you listen to your doctor because they very rarely get excited, but when they do and tell you really need to do something, you really need to listen. And that is interesting because so many of our entrepreneurs that we've interviewed on our Turn Knowledge to Profit podcast, their business, the way it is today, has really been born out of some sort of a change in their life, and they get a real passion for what they're doing and really see an opportunity to help others, to share what they've learned. And so many entrepreneurs really go through a lot of stress because they're trying to do things alone. They're trying to build their business. They're trying to figure it all out, which is interesting in itself.
It is, and what I try to educate people is there's no magic wand, there's no magic pill, there's nothing you can do to reduce your weight and become healthy other than doing it yourself. You cannot pay anybody a lot of money to exercise for you. You cannot pay anybody money to eat properly for you, to drink enough water for you. It's something that you have to do for yourself. And as an entrepreneur, if you're making a lot of money but you're not taking care of your health, you won't be able to enjoy, the fruits of your labor, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, we just got back, along with, and you did too, from the eWomen Network International Conference, which is phenomenal. And, there are you're in a social environment where you've got a lot of people that are eating and drinking, and there's a lot of, it's not quite so easy. You're not home. So how do you recommend people reduce their stress and take care of themselves when they're out of their daily environment? Because it's much harder to do.
It is. It's just a matter of making choices, and we all have choices to make. So, for example, I chose not to indulge in alcoholic beverages. I did have a glass of wine, but I limited it to one. For the desserts, which were excellent, I just took a bite or two instead of eating the whole thing. Mm-hmm. The food was amazing. It was very good, very healthy. Even at the buffet, what I tell people is use a salad plate, take what you want, but don't go back for more. And so that's what I did. Even that all-inclusive resorts that my wife and I traveled to, she's just astounded that I will just take what I want, and that's it. Even though you can eat as much as you want, that doesn't mean you have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting when you talk about making choices, because I think we all have, in everything we do, we have a real opportunity to make choices to really, to build our business, to grow our business, to go to networking, to do follow-up, to do all the different things that we do. And I think that we have a real opportunity to look at what serves us and what really doesn't serve us. And I hear a lot of people say, well, it was out of my control, or I had to do it. You know what? We don't have to do anything. And I think once people start to own it, like you're talking about, it really makes a big difference to how you feel, the things you're able to do, and the impact that you're able to have.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, and like I said, it comes down to choices, and you have the right to make the decisions for yourself. And I try to teach people how to be polite and tactful in saying no, especially around holidays when people are preparing special meals for guests. You don't want to insult the host, but by the other hand, you want to make sure it doesn't impact on your weight loss journey and how it affects you. So there's, ways you can politely say thank you, but no thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I love the fact that you've taken, what you've gone through and learned and actually turning it into a book so others can learn, so that others can use that information to be able to, support themselves and get healthier. And it's really important for people to understand what stress does to their their body and how it impacts them. For me, I always and what I used to teach was really listening to your body when you're under stress, because when you are and you're aware of it, you can very quickly know what that feels like and then help you make better choices.
Exactly. And, weight reduction is similar to businesses because weight reduction success is planned, and real sustained weight reduction takes planning, just like business takes planning to be successful. So you can either fail to plan and remain frustrated, or you can formulate a plan to succeed. So they're very similar in their concepts.
That's an interesting, a very interesting way to put it, and I absolutely agree. So tell me, now you wrote the book on gambling, and now you're writing on dieting, and they're very, very different topics. So what's your secret, or what can you share with our listeners about writing a book? Because I talk to a lot of people that say they want to write a book, but they don't know how to get started.
Well, actually, I wrote 6 books on playing craps and winning at it, and then I ventured into writing novels, and from there I'm doing the weight reduction book. I don't like using the word diet because it has a negative connotation, and also diet is temporary. So I try to advocate for a lifestyle change so that it's permanent. But getting started on writing a book is just doing that, getting started. What I suggest for people, and I was taught this by another person, is if you're an expert in a field, write down 10 questions that people ask you the most, and then take about 8 minutes to answer each of those questions. And then write down 10 questions that people should ask you that they don't, and write down the answers to those questions. And, of course, this is for nonfiction books. And that gives you the basis of writing a book, and from there you can fill in stories and other guidelines and other material. But that usually helps people get started on the writing process.
I use that quite a bit when I'm talking to people to figure out how to get their message out there. The 10 questions you always get asked, and answer those, and then the 10 questions people should ask you but don't. That's really powerful to get real clarity on your communication and on your message.
Exactly.
I'd like to make a little bit of a shift, David, and I know with writing this book and self-publishing it, you've been documenting the whole process that you've been going through so that you can really turn it into a product and a service to help others who want to write a book. Can you talk a little bit about that? What led you to do that, and how has that process been?
Well, how I got started is I wanted to be a best-selling author, and then I took it to the next level and said I wanted to be a New York Times best-selling author. So that is one of the goals I'd like to accomplish. And I got an idea from the movie Silver Lining Playbook with Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence. So I started taking notes, and I'm writing as I go along, and I'm calling it the New York Times Bestseller Playbook. And I'm documenting everything that I'm doing to market, promote, and sell the book, because it's not just writing a book, it's also then selling it. And most people don't realize the hardest part is the marketing and promoting of the book, and that takes more time than actually writing it.
Well, it's interesting because I think that whether someone's trying to market and promote a course that they've created, or a program that they'd like to fill, or an event that they'd like to fill, you're absolutely right. Marketing and promoting is difficult to do, but yet it's the one thing that's going to help really create that success. So what's something that you might be able to share with our listeners, kind of being a big aha for you when it comes to marketing and promoting what you're doing?
Well, one of the big aha moments came when I was listening to author of The Wealthy Barber, David Chilton, and what he suggested was to go after corporate sales instead of individual sales, because a lot of times corporations will buy your book or even your products in bulk if you can, persuade them that it's beneficial to their employees or to even their customers. And so that's a market that is missed by a lot of publishers and a lot of authors, is they always focus on how can I sell through Amazon or Barnes & Noble or independent bookstores, and they forget about the corporate market. Another area that they forget about is libraries. Libraries purchase a lot of books, and they're not aware how to get into selling to libraries and the process that has to be done. You just can't go into your local library and talk to the librarian and say, hey, I have this book, would you like to buy it? They may want to, but there are people specifically in the library who will procure books, and there's a whole procedure and process for it. So I'm learning a lot, and as I go along, I'm learning a lot of what I don't know. And I think that's true with most businesses, is that people get into it, they think they know a lot, but if they're actually moving the business along, they find out what they don't know. And then you have to learn how to do it or find somebody who can help you do it.
Right, and I think that, as Sandra Yancey calls it, the unknown zone. I think it's really important, and I love the fact that it sounds like you're a lifelong learner, and I think that's so important. Oftentimes people are looking for their next certification and how to get more knowledge on their area of expertise, which I think is important, but I think it gets to a point where you really have to focus on learning the business skills, the things that you need, or partnering with people that can help you to build those skills. Corporate market is interesting. I know at the eWomen Network conference there was someone there talking about that corporate market, and I know there was a lot of buzz around that because I think there's a lot of interest, very untapped market.
That's true, and what I like to tell people, I like to be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all, but then I took it a step further. Instead of being a learn-it-all, I take what I learn and put it into action, because if you don't put into action what you learn, then it becomes worthless. And that is what a lot of people do. They learn things, like you mentioned, getting another certification or another letter after, a couple letters after the name. But if you don't utilize it, it doesn't become productive for you.
That is so true. And I know I was talking to some people that just came back from the eWomen Network International Conference and really been challenging people to do the follow-up. We go to trainings, we go to conferences, we go to different types of events, and then we come back and we're tired. And I get it. After a week, I'm tired too. But I think it's really important to get into action. We don't need more shelf help, we need more self-help. So I always tell people when they're teaching, when they're doing trainings, to make sure that you're really translating it into actionable steps and items. We give people too much information, they get overwhelmed and do nothing, but really give it to people in a way that they can say, I see how I can use that. That's really going to help take me to where I want to go, not just more information. We don't need more of that.
Exactly, and I would even take it a step further. eWomen conference was amazing, and the women entrepreneurs are fantastic women. And I would tell people, if someone has something to offer you, pay them. They're worth it. Don't try to get something for nothing, because if you're willing to pay for their services, it'll come back tenfold for you. And I think that's so important, that you're willing to not only share information, but also get paid for your knowledge too.
It's interesting. That's interesting you say that, because I've been hearing people lately talk about the energy of money. And I think it's really important to understand that, if you want people to give it to you at no cost or a very discounted price, yet you expect your clients to pay the full price, it's out of, it just, there's not an alignment there. And I think if you want to ask someone to pay for your coaching or for what you're offering, then you need to be willing to do that and have done that for others in order to really be in integrity and ask for it.
Yes, and Sandra had a short video of Oprah talking about Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so what you put out to the universe will come back to you the same way. And that was a very powerful message for me to hear.
That is very powerful. And, that's true. I was talking to someone just yesterday, and it's interesting because I think so often we get a real clear vision of where we want to go or where things are supposed to go. And what I've learned at this age and stage in life, and I guess age has its wisdom in many cases, that, we often don't know the possibility. I'm doing things today that I never dreamed possible because of just being open and being willing to see what's out there and let go of where I thought things had to go. And because of that, it's opened so many doors and so many possibilities. I invite others to really take a step back and think about, we don't know everything. You talked earlier, about, you don't know what you don't know, that unknown zone. And I think people really need to just be open and, wonder why that person sat next to them, or know, that things come in front of them for a reason. Oftentimes we discount them very quickly and we miss the pure gold.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And so often I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say something, it'll resonate with me. And a lot of times I'll just give a little bit of information that to me I think everybody knows, and then I find out they weren't aware of it, and they're very appreciative of how it can help them. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a two-way street, and business is very similar in that way, that it should be a win-win situation instead of what's in it for me. I try to look at it as what's in it for both parties to succeed.
I agree with that so much. I believe the more you give, the more you get. There is so much out there, and everyone receives information and what they have differently. So I believe the more that we share, that doesn't mean you give away everything for free, but there's a lot that we can share that I think sometimes we hold too close to the vest, and people are afraid to share it because they're afraid someone's going to use it and it's going to leave less for them. And I think the more you give, then it opens up the space for things to come back to you in ways that you never could have anticipated.
Right, and what I found interesting is I offered to help several people to learn how to do their copyright, how to get with a publisher, how to use CreateSpace, and they looked at me and they said, well, what do you charge? And I said, nothing. And they're like, you're kidding. I said, well, no, I want to help you avoid the mistakes that I made. It really doesn't cost me anything to share that information, and if I can save somebody money and time and aggravation, I'm happy to do so. And they were just kind of dumbfounded, like, wow, somebody's willing to do that? And of course I am. Now, I probably hurting some other people who charge a lot of money for those services, but I don't look at it that way. I look at how can I help and assist other people.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. And I know that, and I think we need to believe as individuals that we're creative and just feel confident that another idea is going to replace the one that you just gave away. And if you can give, what I find is when you give to someone, then they want to know how they can support you, so it comes back in ways that you would never, ever anticipate. So how can our listeners connect with you and learn more about you and make sure that they find out about your book when it's coming out?
They can go to two different websites. One is called discoveryourthinnerself.com, and that's an opt-in page where they can get a free report on myths of weight loss and questions you need to ask before you start any weight loss program. The other site is beyondlosingweight.com, and that's a blog site where I put up a lot of information and free content for people with tips on weight reduction.
Perfect. And hopefully once you get your book published and then really get all of this other information together on marketing and promoting a book, I know there's going to be a huge market for that. So thank you very much. Can you share with our listeners just one piece of advice that you think will help them build and grow their business?
Yes, I encourage them to learn as much about marketing and being innovative and thinking outside of the box as possible, such as doing short videos or create an online course, learn how to become a keynote speaker, even write their own book or books to assist others. And that also helps with credibility and helps you become an expert in your field.
And that is absolutely really important, and thank you for sharing that. So hopefully some of our listeners will connect with you to learn how to do that. And if any of our listeners have questions on how to create products, programs, or services, we'd love to help you do that too at Turn Knowledge to Profit. Thank you so much for your time and sharing today, David.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity of being a guest.
Oh, our pleasure.